Shalom everyone. Today we're going to be going over some Q&A questions that we've collected from people just asking certain questions of what it is to be a married couple, especially in a spiritual sense, and just some questions that I and my wife thought would be fun. This is my wife, commonly known as Seven.
Hi, chat.
Yeah, so we're going to go on ahead and get into these questions together, and we're going to have certain brackets. So these questions are going to have their own sections. We're going to have general marriage questions, spiritual / biblical topics as it relates to marriage, emotional mental health, advice, real talk questions, and some fun questions that my wife has picked out. So let's get right into them without further ado. Question number 1 is, what made you both sure you were ready for marriage at a young age?
Okay, there was multiple things, but I'll probably name the top 2. The first thing is, so we were friends, like childhood friends, and then we had spent some time apart from each other, haven't seen each other. Then we reconnected in 2023, and the first time we reconnected in person, that wasn't the first time. The first time was the Pain and Praise song.
Mm-hmm.
The second time, it was just us two. We went to the movies. And, I felt something. I didn't know what I felt. And it was, to this day, every time, I explain this, I don't know what word to give it. It was just something in the air that just made me want to be, close to him. But not in, a physical closeness. It was, It was unexplainable. So he's driving me home, right? And I'm just thinking about that, because that was crazy. I'd never felt nothing like that. And so he's like, "What's wrong?" I was like, "You didn't feel nothing back there?" He's like, I wasn't gonna say nothing, but and so that told me we both felt that unknown, or that feeling that I don't have a name for. And then the second thing is, I prayed about it. I asked, and I just got all green flags. All green flags. Usually, if I pray, if I'm or not usually, but in the past, if I was being pursued, I would ask the Father, if I could do it, or if it's a green light, or if it's a go or no, and I would always get no. Stop getting distracted. Bad dreams about people. But with Yala, it was all green flags. He was just showing me his areas of strength, and areas that sharpened me. So it was just all green flags.
Quick disclaimer for everyone who knows me as Nakaraya. Throughout the longevity of this video, she's going to be addressing me as Yala, because that's my common nickname that everybody refers to me as, which is pretty funny. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be calling her Mitty, because Mitty means wife in Indian. So
yeah, these are just our nicknames that we call each other in everyday life. So
the way that I attack this question is, I never felt about a person in such a way that gleaned security, and it was a yin to a yang experience, to where it was, I saw within a person a future that could be helpful for my spiritual purpose, which aligned very well with the physical. I often too find that it's pretty difficult to explain, but I think the best that we have at it is saying that it was quite a spiritual connection. And so I think there's only, let's just say that it's very rare that you experience that with someone. And I think my advice would be, if you have that unexplainable feeling that leads to a benevolent future, garner that relationship, whatever that might be, not just husband and wife material, but even your mother, your father, your brother, any relationship where you feel like there is a sort of spiritual closeness that leads to something that's beyond words, that's probably worth saving, and it's probably worth speaking highly of. Okay, so question number 2 is, What's one thing you thought marriage would be like, but it turned out differently?
I thought marriage was gonna be like. I thought it was gonna be like dates all the time and butterflies all the time, like those like fresh feelings. I thought I was gonna feel that like every day. No, that's false. That is a misconception. I don't know if others have that misconception. That is false.
Yeah, I mean, I think that marriage turned out a little bit like what I expected it to be after I rearranged my thoughts. Like, I perceived that I would marry once I was, like, well off, let's say. And so with being well off, I had assumed that there would be a minimal amount of struggle that would have to be faced. And so in that regard, I would say that, yeah, probably not so glamorous as my original intent was for it to be. But all in all, I think it's pretty much how I'd expect it to be. And I think that also has a lot to do with the person that you marry, because you might think that you know someone and they turn out to be someone else, and so that can unfortunately lead to a type of demise. So that being said, question number 3. How do you handle conflict without letting it damage your spiritual connection? That's a very good question.
Well, that's pretty easy. I just take literally all of our conflicts, I take to prayer. Like, we look at the Most High as our counselor, like our marriage counselor, and as the third rope in our knot. So I look at him as a part of our relationship, as a part of our marriage. So say for instance you have a group of 3 friends, right? And 2 friends are at it, like you and another friend is at it. You're gonna go to the other friend like, well, what should I do, blah blah blah. So that's literally what I do with the Father. Like, every single conflict, big, small, medium, in between, I always just take it in prayer. And then when we do have like our hard conversations, I'll always ask the Father to come in the room, to guide the conversation, to help me with my emotions. And I just always take it to him or invite him in.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think my answer is a little bit different. I think what I do is I stress communication a lot for all of my relationships, really, but especially with my wife, because anytime that there is some sort of conflict, it's usually a clashing of ideas, and those ideas can only be hashed out to find a middle ground or compromise if you have those conversations. So I prioritize having difficult conversations, and gentlemen, I recommend doing what I do, or at least try to do to the best of my ability, which is to train or teach your wives how to actually have difficult conversations, because difficult conversations are quite difficult to have. So if you get in the habit of having difficult conversations, you also get to address conflicts as soon as they come up with a certain level of integrity and emotional professionalism, to where you can nip confrontation in the bud quickly. I'm all about handling confrontation quickly, not for the sake of being emotionally combative, but for the sake of not letting certain things be swept under the rug, because that's how you let mold fester into your relationship. Now you have hidden resentment, and it's like, why is she so aggressive, or why is he so aggressive? It's likely because there's something that's not been addressed that should have been addressed a long time ago. So I always think to handle conflicts professionally, with emotional intelligence, and as quickly as possible. And that's not to be conflated with right now, just as quickly as possible, because sometimes you're not ready to have those conversations.
Or the other person is.
Okay, we were on question 4, right?
That was question 3. Now we're on question 4.
Right. Okay, so how do you keep love and respect consistent even when you're not in the mood? That's interesting.
Well, really, like, so you're asking me how I keep love and respect consistent when you're not in the mood, or when I'm not in the mood?
When it's being, the question is being addressed to you. So
when
yes,
I'm
when
not
you're
in
not in the mood, yes.
only not in the mood when he makes me mad. But when he makes me mad, though, I am still big on respect. And whether I'm mad or not, I still love my husband. So, but if I'm like really mad though, like we tend to give each other like the silent treatment. But that's like to the extent of, what was that?
Incorrect. Okay,
No,
so
it's not.
okay, so first of all, I never give silent treatment. Like I just said, I'm all about addressing the elephant in the room. And when I address the elephant in the room, everything gets fixed.
When you're not my friend, you're silent.
Right now, when I'm not your friend, there will be silence because you don't no longer want to talk. But then I'll again try to establish, like, poke here, like, okay, so are you ready to have this conversation, or I'll just straight up start having the conversation. If she's not ready, then I'll back off. Then I'll have silence because she's not ready to have the conversation. You're not going to talk to someone who doesn't want to talk. Doesn't really make any sense. So, but no, I never give the silent treatment because the silent treatment doesn't really do anything unless they know exactly what they did that was wrong and there's nothing really for you to communicate. Then maybe there's room for that. But me personally, no, I don't really give the silent treatment, which is funny because I'm naturally introverted, but I've become amniverted as I've trained myself to be more. Yes, so,
I think I'm amniverted.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah, I was introverted initially, and I trained myself to be extroverted when I went on my sales endeavor. So I'm an amalgam of both. But yeah, you gonna say something?
I was just gonna pivot us back to the question. Because I don't think I answered it correctly. How do you keep love and respect consistent even when you're not in the mood? So when I'm not in the mood, I still like speak. I still be like, hi, or I'll like ask him if he's hungry or if he's ate. But like, and I feel like that's love and respect. Because if I'm worried about if he ate, that's love, and if I say hi, that's respect. And we'll say goodnight. In the morning when we leave for work, we always kiss each other to say goodbye. So, mad or not, like, that's a must. So, that's something that we keep consistent as well, even when we're not in the mood. Because sometimes I don't want those kisses, but you better not walk out this house without giving me one.
Yeah, I think my answer is we need to understand that love and respect are not moods. So I think if you genuinely have love and respect for someone, that's going to be expressed no matter what mood you're in, because love and respect is not a mood. You can be definitely in the mood to show the positive aspects of love and respect if you're in the mood to do so. But I mean, there is a certain level of respect that you would have for your parents, for example. Ideally, you would never go under that barrier of respect that they're automatically deserved. You might go above and beyond because you really appreciate and love your parents, like to, the highest maximum of your mood or whatever. But no matter how you feel, they should always get the default level of respect. And I think that's how it is for every relationship, especially for a husband and a wife. So, yes, understanding that, and like what Mitty was saying, it's like there are certain things that we do that have that, that established level of respect within our relationship that never gets compromised. And there's utility in that, right? Because it's like, it's a way of letting your partner know, like, hey, I'm mad at you, but, I'm still with you. Like, we're still in this together. There's still unity. Yeah. You're just not my friend.
Yeah. Or I'm not your friend. I'm not your friend,
question.
but are you hungry?
Yeah, I don't like you like that, but
you want to
go somewhere? Like, I'm bored. Okay, question number 5. This is now the spiritual and biblical topics here. It says, how has your understanding of the Most High changed since being married?
Well,
this should be interesting.
I know. So, before we were married, I was not keeping the laws to the best of my ability. I was in pants. I was praying with my head uncovered. I wasn't as serious about the holy days as I should have been. Was not keeping the Sabbath. So there was a lot of areas that I was weak in. And he just pointed them out. And I was like, I'm going to pray about that. And I prayed about it, and it was just like everything he was saying. So I would say that my walk in the law has gotten a lot stronger since being married. A lot stronger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was slight correction. It's not what I was saying. I only brought up scripture. But I think...
But what do you mean? What's not what you were saying?
Like, because you were saying, like, everything... Like, you prayed about it and everything that I was saying was correct. It's not what I was saying. I never brought up anything to make me correct. It was only the scriptures that I brought up. Let's see. Am I... Well, I don't think my perspective of the Most High has really changed since I got
it's
married.
It's understanding, not perspective. How has your understanding of him changed?
It's a little nuanced, but it's more of the same thing. My understanding hasn't really changed much of him either. I think I've seen certain things a little bit differently because for me, the relationship that I have with the Most High is he's very much a stern father figure, and oftentimes the Most High allows me to work things out on my own and then test it, and then he'll let me know if I'm right or if I'm wrong. Seldom will the Most High actually give me something like straight up, and then I just like, oh, okay, awesome. I often have to, study to show myself approved and like go through trial and error, and he'll give me like hints, and and it's very like this, but there is a soft side to the Most High as well, and I've got to experience that through his relationship with my wife, because it's the polar opposite. It's like she's the daughter, and she's given all of this like protection and softness that the Most High is very much capable of, and I understood him to be capable of those things. It's just not my spiritual experience, and I wouldn't change anything about our relationship, because I think that's the difference between how the father treats the daughter and the son. The son, you push the son down the slide. Go for it. See what happens. But the daughter, there's a certain level of delicacy that you temper that relationship with, and I think that I got to experience that through listening to her story as it relates to being a daughter of the Most High, which is beautiful. So, yeah, I think we can say for the both of us that our understanding of the Most High has increased in a beautiful way once we've gotten married, because you are getting two aspects of a divine relationship that is mingled into one flesh, which is very nice. Okay, so
I feel like I want to revamp my answer.
Okay.
Like, I'm going to keep the same answer because, yes, I am more firm in walking in the law, but the question is, how has your understanding of the Most High changed since being married? And I don't want to conflate the Most High with this law. So I would say my understanding of the Most High changed because I see how important his law is to him and to his people, how our heritage and how our culture is seen as an inheritance in his eyes, something that he gave us, like a gift, a covenant. And so that understanding of the Most High have to change for the better.
It's very good, very good. Question number 6. What scriptures guide your roles as husband and wife?
I don't have a particular scripture that guide my role as a wife, but the chapter in Sirach chapter 26, it has like some really great gems on like wifehood and what it is to be a virtuous wife and what it is to be a wicked wife. So, if you can read that chapter and be honest with yourself and analyze your behaviors, you can see where you fall, or if you're somewhere in the middle, what you can do better to be that virtuous wife, what you can let go of so that you can stop having or prevent or decrease any wicked tendencies that you might have intentionally or unintentionally. So I would definitely say that chapter in Sirach.
Yes, I don't know the exact chapter and verse for the scripture, but Paul wrote it. He was saying that that husbands should love their wives as Christ loved the church, and I think that's very, very well put, because there are a lot of philosophical implications as to what love is in when he frames it in that aspect, right? Because you have the husband, which is essentially, especially in that aspect, the priest of his household. And if it's just you, as in your husband and wife, then you are the priest of your wife. And this was sort of this took up a lot of thought when I was deciding whether I was going to propose and, marry my wife, which is, I'm going to be responsible, spiritually and physically responsible for another human being. And that's why I have that video, like how to be a good husband, because I think it's so imperative that you understand that, because it's the stepping stone before fatherhood. It's like, as a father, you're not responsible for the lives of multiple people, but as a husband, you're responsible for one soul. So it's like, preferably one soul. And it's like, well, is this soul going to work with how I'm supposed to be responsible for her? And am I actually already up to that level of responsibility? Am I worthy of that responsibility yet? So I'd say that scripture helps me a lot, because that means analyze exactly what Christ did in respect for his church, the nation of Israel. And so everything that he did, laying down his life, that's physically. The way that he taught, that's spiritually. And the level of decency and purpose and emotional intelligence, the wisdom, is how you deal with your wife on an emotional level. And so, yeah, I'd say that a lot of my behavior towards my wife is predicated on that scripture. He also cleaned his disciples' feet. Interesting. Moving on. Question number 7. How do you pray together or individually for your marriage?
Well, a prayer point that I always pray is for our love to be rooted in him, because we call our marriage the solid tree, because I'm 7, he's yellow, so the solid tree. So I look at our marriage like a tree. So if we're rooted in him and we have deep roots, then that means our tree won't be easily moved. It won't be easily swayed by winds or easily uprooted, because if you're rooted in him, I think of it like when you build your house on the foundation that is, what is it, stone? Rock? A firm foundation. So, yeah, and I always pray for the Most High to water our love so that it can grow, because I love purpose in plants. If we are the solid tree, you want your tree to grow and produce fruit. So I would say that's how I always pray for our marriage. How do you pray? Yeah,
I think if we're talking about physically here, like how do you pray together or individually, I mean,
it wasn't like prayer point.
It probably is. I don't know. I guess I'm reading it with a certain practicality. I mean, face the east, pray if you're going to pray together. I recommend, prayer on your knees, stretched out hands. That's like the perfect prayer posture. If it's talking about, like you were saying, like the prayer points for the marriage, yes, I agree with everything that she was saying, where it's like, as long as your marriage is predicated on the substrate of the Bible, I don't think there's anything that's going to be able to move the marriage, right? Because no weapon formed against you shall prosper. So I recommend, or at least what I do, is I pray for the wisdom and the strength that is necessary to be a good husband in the sight of the Most High. And I always pray for my development first, because as the leader, you have to lead by example, and you don't want to be so focused on, or fixated, I should say, on how your wife could be better, so much to where you don't behold the plank in your eye, or the beam in your own eye. So I recommend praying for the strength needed to be the best version of you could possibly be. And then that will subsequently help the marriage. Okay, question number 8. How does the Sabbath or feast days strengthen or challenge your bond? Interesting.
I don't think it challenges. I don't think the Sabbaths or feast days challenge our bond. I don't think it's strengthened our bond yet, but I do think that when we have children, it will strengthen our bond. Feast days and Sabbaths, because I plan to have certain traditions and things that can be like fun and things that we can look forward to each year on the feast days. So I think that definitely will strengthen our bond, but as of now, I think that they're just fun days.
I think that they definitely strengthen our bond because it is a sense of psychological familiarity with certain biblical, how would you say, holy days or traditions. So we can look back on our marriage and have some sort of recollection of, oh, this is what it looks like experiencing the holy days with my wife or my husband. So I think that's very valuable. I don't think they should ever challenge. I think you should, and this is a part of the courting process, I think, if you are experiencing a challenge with your spouse over something that's scripture as like structured as like the holy days, then there's probably something going on that should not be going on. I think that's all I'll say on that one. Question number 9. Have you ever felt spiritually out of sync with each other? How did you reconnect? I think that's how did you reconnect if you fell out of sync.
Right. I wouldn't say spiritually out of sync. We've had disagreements on spiritual manners, but I wouldn't say that's the same as spiritually out of sync. But yeah, we've had disagreements on spiritual manners.
Yes, I think it depends on what you mean by spiritually out of sync. If we're assuming the whole equally yoked aspect, I don't think that's ever happened. Let's see. Yeah, I don't think that's ever happened. But yes, I do think that spiritual and just disagreements in general happen, and it's always good to have conversations about those disagreements to find out exactly how each other thinks. Okay, now moving on to emotional and mental growth questions. Question number 10. What have you both learned about yourselves since getting married?
I learned that I got control problems. He pointed that out to me every time we go grocery shopping, or shopping in general. We could be at Target, anywhere. Even if he's pushing the basket, I still need to guide it. And he'll be like, I got it. I'm like, okay. And then 2 minutes later, I'm doing it again. And it's not like, okay, I'm about to grab. It's not like I'm consciously thinking I'm about to grab this shopping cart and guide it. I just do it. And even when it comes to like finances and stuff, I'm always trying to tell him, like, let me just be your accountant. Let me just do it for you. Let me just do it.
Nice.
Sorry, chat. So that has shed light on some control problems that I didn't know that I had.
Something I've learned about myself. I don't think that I've learned anything new about myself since marriage, and that's pretty much because I'm always in here. I'm a very introspective person, so it's very few things about myself that I'm not familiar with. But I think by contrast with her personality, I see that I'm a very decisive person. Like I think that...
Is that something you learned in this marriage?
Not really. It's just something...
I think
it's something that I've seen, like... I don't know.
I think we should come back to this question for you.
That's the only thing that I can really think of.
But you haven't learned that in this marriage.
There's things I've learned in this marriage. It says, let's see, something that...
You learned about yourself.
Yeah, I learned about yourself. There's nothing really... Oh, you know what? I actually like sketching. I like sketching a lot. Let's see. I won't show you anything. But I do like sketching. That's pretty much it. I haven't really uncovered anything like ultra new, I don't think. Alright, question number 11. How do you handle emotional vulnerability, especially as a husband or wife? That's a good question.
Well, how do you handle emotional vulnerability?
This should be fun.
I just cry. I just
Nice.
cry. One thing I'm going to do is cry, and I don't have to hide my tears. Like, if we're having a hard conversation and he make me mad enough or sad enough, or I'm just flustered with emotions, or even if he didn't do something and I'm just overwhelmed, I'm gonna cry. So emotional vulnerability is not something that I had to learn through or learn to get comfortable with, because I'm just gonna cry.
So for me, I have a very different answer. I'm not a very emotionally sensitive person. That's not to be conflated with being emotional, because I do think that I'm an emotional person, but I don't think I'm emotionally sensitive at all. So when I'm being emotionally vulnerable, that simply looks like me articulating my feelings in a sense to where someone can understand how I feel. That's all that really looks like for me. Yes.
Continue.
It's especially as a husband or wife. Yeah, I mean, as a husband, I'm a very direct person, so it's just like, hey, this doesn't work. This doesn't look like a good idea, and this is how I feel about this. And I make it I make a distinction. I recommend everyone does this, by the way. I make a real distinction when I say, this is how I feel, or this is what I think, or this is what I know. So, I think oftentimes people throw that around. It's like, oh, I just feel like, it's like, is that really how you feel, or is that how you think? So, usually it's like, that's how I think, but when I say, this is how I feel, I like to think that she immediately picks up on that. It's like, okay, this is how you feel, okay, let me really pay attention, because I don't really discuss my feelings too often. Not in a sense to where I'm trying to purposefully not to be emotionally vulnerable, but in a sense to where it's usually not that necessary. If I'm being emotionally vulnerable, it's probably because I deem it to be necessary. Yes, you were going to say something?
No. Well, I was, but we can keep going.
Okay, question number 12. What's something you've helped each other heal from? Interesting. Is this you saying
I
you
think
helped? Wait.
this is something.
No, you say what I helped
yeah,
you heal.
yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. I think heal is a strong word.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Let's come back to 12. We'll highlight it.
Okay. Yeah, you can highlight it.
Do you want to answer it before I highlight it?
Yeah, I think heal is a strong word. I don't really think we've had to help each other heal from anything. I do think we've helped each other improve a lot in certain areas. So I'll pretend that the question is, what have you helped each other improve with? So I'd say, I learned when the Most High called me to be a wise counselor that I had a lot to learn about wisdom. So I learned a lot within the wisdom literature, like within the Solomonic literature and the biblical anthology, psych literature, neuroscience, and everything points back to emotional intelligence. So back in my young youth, I used to pride myself a lot on being very cognitively active, and there is utility in it, but it's not that prevalent in the manner of being a wise person. So I started digging into what it is to be emotionally intelligent, and this one right here I think is very emotionally intelligent. So I tend to glean emotional intel from just observing her a lot, from reading a lot, and now I like to think that I'm a very emotionally intelligent person. So that's helped a lot. Did you want to...
Something I improved in?
Yeah, let's just revamp the question. What's something I've helped you improve?
Communicating, because I used to be like, I'm out of here. I don't want to have this conversation. I don't want to do this. No, I'm just going to leave. But I have definitely improved with my communication and my fight or flight response. I don't fight or flight. Now I talk.
Very good. Okay, question number 13. How do you manage stress Stress. Hello. How do you manage stress or pressure without taking it out on each other? Ooh, that's an interesting question.
I don't think I've ever been the kind of person who takes my stress out on others. So, do you think I take my stress out on you sometimes?
Yeah, I'm the same way. I don't really take out my emotions on people. It's a thought distortion. Pressure without taking. I think.
If we just answer the first half of the question, how do you manage stress? How do you manage stress or pressure?
Yeah, I mean, I just think a lot. So, usually, I never pretend that stress is something that I have to get over. I take it as like, unless it's distress. There is a psychological difference. So distress is stress that actually becomes harmful to you on a physiological level, and then there's eustress, which is just the day-to-day stress that gets you through life. Eustress is the reason why we have goals. Eustress is pretty much the reason why things get done. So if I feel a significant level of stress, I take that as, okay, this is a constant state of being until I accomplish something, and that's not really something that I really get over. It is something that I manage to where I use it as fuel for my ambition, if you will. But all that happens in my mind. I used to take it out on Bob, which is a punching bag that I use when I train, but I don't really use that too much anymore for any real cause. Do you have any?
How I manage stress?
Yep.
I really be just taking everything to prayer. But when it feels like, and I'm not saying that prayer is not enough, but when it feels like it's not, I write poetry, I journal, I write out prayers, and I make lists of things that are stressing me out. And as I'm writing the list, I'm like, basically laying it at his feet. And so as I'm writing the list, I'm usually thinking of solutions that I can write next to the thing that's stressing me out. So that's pretty much how I manage stress in music, painting.
Music does help a lot. Okay, question number 14. Do you believe marriage is more about personal growth or service to your partner? Ooh, that's a good question.
I think personal growth helps you to service your partner better.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you need both, because you don't want to service your partner so much to where you're not filling up your own cup either, because then you're not going to service your spouse to the best of your ability, to the optimal potential that you can. So I think that you should focus on both. But I would say personal growth first, because if you grow as a person, you will just show up as a better wife or husband.
Yeah, I think it needs to be established that neither of them are more than the other. They're both equally important, because if you say that self-improvement or self-growth is more important, then you're going to be prioritizing yourself, and then you're going to be more important than your wife, which is not good, right? Because the scriptures say to love your wife as you love yourself, right? So that's an equal amount of love there. So they're both equally important. I agree that self-improvement helps the servitude to your partner. I also think I have this like understanding where it's like you have to really make sure that when you grow, your spouse grows, because if not, you're just going to keep growing and they're not, and that's how people outgrow each other. So make sure that you're growing at a steady pace. Maybe you grow a little bit faster, that's fine, or she grows a little bit faster. I don't recommend that. I'd say try to make sure that you are at least equal. If not, I'd say you grow a little bit faster than your wife, because you're the head, right? You're the leader. So if you're going to be a powerful leader, then you need to make sure that you're on it for sure. Otherwise, you're not. Eventually, she'll grow out of your ability to lead her, which is not good within a marriage. So, yes, that's all I have to say. Wow, we are doing horrible on time.
Like, I've been looking at the time. We're doing so bad.
Okay. Question number 15. Maybe we can break this up into two parts.
I told you.
Question number 15. What would you tell someone who wants to marry young but is scared?
Just do it like Nike.
That is not my answer. Yeah, we'll make this into two parts. Okay. That's your real answer?
I would say be sure first. Be sure if that person is in alignment with the Most High's will for your life. But once he gives you the green lights and the go, block out the noise, block out the doubt, block out the fear. Do it. Just do it. Because it's your life. It's your life. Everybody else is going to get on board or they can stay behind. You're going to be happy in your marriage.
Yeah, so my advice is, if you're scared, don't do it. Don't do it while you're scared. That's a very bad idea.
You wasn't scared?
No. Like, I think that's a result of people not thinking enough. Because what are you scared of? Like, ask yourself that. Like, what exactly are you afraid of?
Some people be scared of a lifetime commitment to one person.
Right. So here's the thing: if you're scared of a commitment to someone, then I don't think you should do it yet. Get that situated first, because it is a commitment. Would you want to get married to someone who doesn't know if they want to be committed to you? Right. So that's a dumb thing to do. No, don't marry it if you're scared to do it. Make sure that your thoughts are in order. Make sure everything is like, okay, why am I scared? I'm scared because of this. Okay, is that a legitimate thing to be worried about? Maybe it's not. Maybe it is. And then it's like, if it is, communicate that with the person who you're trying to marry. Maybe they can make you feel reassured about the situation. And it's like, oh, okay. Because of you, now I feel okay. Yeah, I feel okay. Okay. So now there's no more fear. Get the fear out first, because fear has its way of burrowing into your mind and creating malice of thoughts. And you don't want your marriage to be predicated on chaos. You want it to be peaceful, or at least as peaceful as it could possibly be. So don't be married. Don't try to get married if you're scared. Now, if you're nervous, that's different. You're probably nervous over nothing. But
yeah.
But yeah, no. And yeah, commitment. I think that's a silly one. Oftentimes, it's like, okay, so you're scared of commitment. What does that mean? Like, do you want to like not be monogamous? Like, do you fancy the idea of never being married? So you would rather never be married versus be married? I don't think that that's really a question if you actually really want to marry someone. If you really want to marry someone, I don't really think thoughts of commitment should be relevant.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you have to start questioning, are you a promiscuous person who's probably going to cheat? And if not, or if so, don't marry. It's not a good idea if you're going to do that.
Agree.
Okay, I think we'll stop at 19.
Okay.
Okay, question number 16. What should couples discuss before getting married? Oh, wow, interesting.
Couples should discuss a lot of things before getting married.
Mm-hmm.
People need to talk about belief systems and religions. People need to talk about expectations when it comes to gender roles. Like, are you more of a traditional person, or are you more of a 50-50 person? Like, what are your expectations of how the other person should show up in your vision of the marriage that you want to have? We didn't discuss money, but I think money should be discussed. Maybe not money, but like finances, like goals. I think goals is a better one. Financial goals, professional goals. Like, you just want to make sure that you discuss certain things that you want to be in alignment with that person. Because what if that person just want to play video games all day, and they think like that's the life? They want to get paid playing video games all day, but you trying to climb the career ladder. Like,
yeah, my exact answer is you should discuss everything, or at least as much as possible, right? Like, this is someone who ideally you're going to be with for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So be as nosy as you could possibly be.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe in the idea of being nosy or like intrusive when you're trying to marry someone. That is a big deal. So find out, their favorite.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Find out their favorite color. Find out what they like. Find out what they don't like,
mm-hmm.
and then share, your answer to these questions when you ask them. Like, find out exactly what they believe. Tell them what you believe. Tell them if there's differences in what you believe. Like,
discuss boundaries.
Yeah, you need to be as open as you possibly can. And this should all happen in the courting process anyway. So
yeah, and I think what we did was we looked at, there's like different lists that you can find on like Pinterest and Google on things to discuss before getting married, and I think that's what we did. I don't think we just had these random conversations.
No, well, really what happened was, because I asked a lot of questions, so that's pretty much what happened. I asked a bunch of questions, and when I ran out of questions, I looked for more. That's what it was. I was just always asking questions. I still ask questions. But, yeah. I recommend be very, very curious and be obsessive about learning who the person is before you marry.
And these are fun conversations, too. Sometimes it might get sweaty or get hot in here. You get a little nervous to discuss certain things, but it's better to learn as much as you can about that person. You're going to be with them for the rest of your life. And it's interesting to learn about their likes, their dislikes, their background. It's interesting. And it helps you bond, too, when you get to know more about that person beyond the surface level.
Absolutely. Okay, what do people misunderstand about biblical marriage? There's 2 more questions after this one.
At least for now, like in the time that we're in, I think when people think of biblical marriage, they think the husband works, the wife stays at home and cooks and cleans and stuff. Now that may work for some couples even today, but that may not work for your relationship. So you don't have to expect that dynamic for the whole time period of your marriage, because in the beginning the wife and the husband may work, and then towards the end or the middle, not the end, but towards the middle or further down the line, the wife may become a stay-at-home mom and take care of the house while the husband works. But that doesn't have to be what you walk in expecting, especially not if you're going to get married young.
Yeah, so my thinking of what people think about biblical marriage is like the husband is some like tyrannical government who rules over the wife, and the wife has no say, because essentially a submissive wife and a leading husband gets a bad rap because of this wicked generation, I'll say. So I think that there are definitely boundaries that should be had, which is, you know, you don't. And I think there's a scripture on this. I think it's in Sirach actually, where it's like I'm gonna paraphrase, but it's essentially like the foolish husband walks around his home like a roaring lion. It's like, it's not about being a roaring lion, it's about being a lion. It's about being a leader. It's about being capable of teaching spiritual, intellectual, and physical concepts to your wife and subsequently your children if you plan on having any. And that doesn't come along with being such a way towards your wife where you have no care about her opinion on things. You don't take counsel together on certain aspects of your relationship because you have all the answers because you're the man. That's not what it is. It should be like there's this quote in the movie My Big Fat Greek Wedding where it's like the man is the head but the woman is the neck, and you know, the neck, the head without the neck dies, right? So you need both. It's a cooperation. The man does lead, but it's a cooperation of a sophisticated manner for goals. So yes, number 18. How can couples keep the Most High at the center without becoming religiously robotic? That's an interesting question.
I would say continue to steward your personal relationship with the Most High, as well as stewarding a combined relationship with the Most High with your husband. So that can look like having mutual prayer times as well as individual prayer times, mutual study sessions as well as independent study sessions. You want to keep your relationship too, but you're also mingling it. So you just have to find a way to balance it, because that way you keep the Most High at the center of your personal life and at the center of your marriage, and also giving your marriage back to Him. The night we got married, we got home, we prayed, and we had a study session, And we told the Most High, like, we're giving this marriage back to you because you have gifted it to us, but you use it. We invited him into our marriage, and we asked him to use it, for his glory and to do whatever he will with it. So you want to, just how you treat yourself with the Most High, how you say, I'm his, and I'm this clay, and he's the potter, mold me. You want to do the same thing with your marriage, because your marriage is a separate entity from you as an individual. So you still want him to shape and mold your marriage into whatever he designed for that marriage.
Yes. Simply put, I'm just going to say value authenticity, right? Like, because the whole prompt here is be religiously robotic, and I think that's under the pretense that you're going to strive to be religiously perfect, like, all the time. Like, you can strive for spiritual greatness without becoming a facade of a character, right? Like, you can be yourself and serve the Most High. Like, people have this misconception that serving the Most High means losing the core fabric of yourself, because you are essentially, like, only in service of the ultimate good all the time. It's like, yeah, you die daily and you have to repent and become what the Most High formed you into being, but that shouldn't mean you lose all of yourself. And if you lose all of yourself in that process, then something went wrong somewhere. But yeah, I say just value authenticity. Be yourself all the time, and hopefully a part of your authentic self loves the Most High genuinely, and if it doesn't, then work on that genuine love. Don't be robotic. Okay, last question. How do you know if someone is sent by the Most High versus just a strong attraction?
Pray about it. Ask. Just ask.
Indeed.
Just ask. That's it. And then you will get answers. Like, you will see some red flags or you'll see some green flags. You might have a bad dream. You might hear a word. Just ask and be on the lookout for the answer. Don't be trying to close your eyes like you SZA. No. Just ask. That's it.
Yeah, my thing is ask both. Ask the person and ask the Most High.
Nah.
Because, well, I mean, it depends on the context of where you're at in this. Like, if you're talking to someone, like, you're not going to ask them, like, are you sent from God? Like, you're going to ask them questions to see if they're sent from the Most High. Like, hey, like, what are your thoughts on, like, this? And then they're like, oh, I think that. And then you're like, whoa, that's not something that someone would say if they were from the Most High. I'm going to go ahead and step back out of here. Right, but yeah, definitely ask the Most High. He will answer you. That was definitely our experience. It's like, is this actually going to work? Is this something that you think is valuable? And we both got the wait, move slow signal from the Most High.
Literally.
So yeah, I think just, definitely ask the highest authority, which is the Most High, and see what his thoughts of the person are.
Right, because he sees the heart.
Yes. So that's going to conclude it. We have
and he's seeing your future.
We have some more, we have real talk questions and some fun questions. We'll get to that next week. We did not expect this to go on this long. This is insane. But yeah, so this is going to conclude this section. We're going to be back for part 2 next week. Thank you all for watching. The scripture of the week is James chapter 1 verse 5. It says, if any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of the Most High, that giveth to all men liberally, and upbraideth not, and it shall be given him. And I think that's in correlation with what we just went through, right? You want to ask for the Most High for wisdom and discernment, and so you can make these decisions with the counsel of the divine already set in you. So that's always good. Oh, please like and share my last lecture addressing the Israelite community. I genuinely felt the Holy Spirit while I was doing that one, and I appreciate all the love that everyone has shown it thus far. Very, very thankful. Did you have any concluding thoughts before I close out?
Been waiting for this. Okay, we both love J. Cole. So as he has said, what am I going to say?
I have no idea what you're going to say. Just say it.
Choose wisely.
Choose wisely, indeed. And furthermore, I want you guys
Can I say it?
I want you guys to stay
Stay safe,
safe,
stay dangerous,
and
be
be
wise.
wise. Shalom.
Shalom.